What is your just general level of excitement at the start of camp? I know it's technically tomorrow, but with pitchers and catchers reporting and kind of getting underway now.
Yeah, I think it's exciting just to get everybody back together again, and it's baseball season. Baseball season's exciting. We are here for a reason because we love it, and that's the excitement that everybody kind of brings to the clubhouse at this time of the year.
The roster that you have, there were some moves during the offseason. There could still be some. What do you make of this group of players, and whether you expect moves coming in the next month or so?
Yeah, we got a great group of players. Top to bottom, we've got a pretty good roster, a roster that we feel like can compete for, any number of goals throughout the season. Is it the final roster? We know AJ. AJ's always got something up his sleeve. We've seen in the years past. We've signed Dylan Cease the day before we left for Korea. We signed Nick Pivetta last year, middle of February. So don't put anything past him. And I know he's continually working and trying to fill out our roster and make it as best we can at the start of opening day.
When you look at the offense from last year, kind of relative lack of slug, some inconsistency, like what philosophical changes? How does it get better?
Yeah, I think every individual's kind of got to look at his own individual game and how can I improve? Do I need to be in better shape? Do I need to make a swing change? Do I need to take a better approach? Personally in the offense, or does the team need to have a little bit better approach going forward too? And then there's also like baseball. Sometimes ball doesn't bounce your way, and maybe last year like some things just didn't go our way offensively, and we weren't able to score as many runs as we expected. You look at 2024, we were pretty darn good offense. It's basically the same players. And, sometimes you have down years, sometimes you have good years. The thing that we're looking for is consistency. And if we can find consistency with our offense, I feel very good about our defense and pitching, and we'll be able to win some ball games.
What was your prior relationship with Steven Souza?
Me and Steven came up through the minor leagues together with the Nationals. He was a few years behind me. He was a young whippersnapper, high school kid, hot shot, but big, physical. You could see the tools, very easily. And I think he went through a pretty transformative maturation process through that minor league system. And then when I was in the big leagues, he kind of came up in that 2014 season when we were winning the National League East. He was a big part of us, finishing that season off well. And then, probably the play that I remember the most from him was the diving catch in the last game of the year, no-hitter, by Jordan Zimmerman. And so we've been friends, since then. We share very similar values and faith and morals, and we've kept in touch throughout the years, played golf in spring training, laughed and joked about when we faced each other and all that kind of stuff. But we've stayed friends throughout, and, it's pretty cool to be able to do this, be the manager while he's the hitting coach together. All paths led to this, and so, it's fun to take this journey on with him.
There can be some, differences of opinion, or what is a hitting coach? All that. What to you is a hitting coach, and what does he bring?
Yeah, to me, a hitting coach's main responsibility is to make sure the players feel very confident about themselves when they're in the batter's box. And whether that's how they feel about their swing in the cage or the philosophy going up to game plan against a pitcher, them having the most confidence possible and knowing, they're here for a reason. They're stud big leaguers, and they can hit anybody. That's, I think, the main thing is what we're trying to get out of our hitting coaches.
Obviously, it's a role for him that he hasn't filled before. He hasn't filled a role on coaching staff before. What makes him qualified to be able to do that, to be able to impart that level of confidence on these hitters?
Yeah, I feel like he's a very good communicator, and he's very relational with people, and that type of personality I think fit one with our staff. Him being a former player has a big deal about it too. Has been there, done that, struggled, had success. How do you handle those things throughout a season, the successes and the adversity, and how do you stay consistent throughout the season? So he brings a lot of that to the table. And I think, in the years since he's retired, he's done a few things, got his own hitting facility. He's worked with the Tampa Bay Rays in a few different capacities in the hitting realm, and I felt very comfortable with how he views hitting, how he attacks it, and then how he can communicate with everybody.
It might be better for him to speak on, but as far as an organizational hitting philosophy would go, what would you say that going forward this team's philosophy at the plate would be?
Score as many runs as possible. That'd be a good philosophy. There's little details to it too, but in the end, we're judged by the score at the end of the game, and offense is judged by how many runs that they can create, and we're going to do everything we can to create as many runs as possible.
I know it's not full squad report date, but if you could boil down what you want this spring training to be about from a mindset standpoint, to one thing, one theme, what do you think that would be?
I think I want them to, take on the personality a little bit of a workman-like attitude. So, stacking brick by brick, building the house that's capable of withstanding the rigors of a 162-game season. So, there's not, one like main message that's going to be like postered all over the walls, but we're going to talk about hard work. We're going to talk about togetherness, and we're going to talk about, adding days together that add up to a big picture. So being really good at the small things, being extraordinary at the ordinary, if you want some buzzwords. Those are things I believe in, and those are things I'm going to try to impart on the team.
I know you touched on him a little bit at FanFest, but Jason Adam, what is your understanding of where he's at, and when will he be on a mound, that sort of thing?
Jason Adam is, one of the most well-respected human beings in our clubhouse, and he brings so much to the table outside of him being on the mound. But we missed him last year when he got hurt and being on the mound and him being able to pitch those crucial innings in the back of the game. So we're going to take his progression, the way the trainers prescribed it, the way the physical therapists have described it. He's been throwing off the mound. We'll see how that continues to progress. We'll see how it continues to progress with him running and being active on his feet. You'll see him around here in spring training, but not putting a timeline on when he'll be ready. Like I said, kind of at FanFest, every player wants to beat the timeline. That's the competitive nature that they have inside them, and he's no different. And so he's been working his tail off to beat that timeline, and we'll see where he ends up at the end of camp, and what we're going to decide what's best for him. And hopefully, we're on the same page together. He may have a different opinion at times, but we've got the best interest in him, not only for this season, but for the rest of his career.
Isn't that what you usually found, that you had a different timeline for these sorts of things?
I had a completely different timeline than any of the experts said it was. I felt like I was the expert, but we all know that that's why we're in these positions as coaches, as trainers, as physical therapists, to help these players make great decisions and help them be on the field as long as they possibly can. Not just today, but I know he wants to play till he's like 45. So if we can get him where he plays like 45, we did our job.
Throwing off the mound, is he throwing bullpens?
Yeah. Yep.
Joe Musgrove, obviously coming off Tommy John surgery. Do you expect his progression this spring to be, I know he wants it to be normal. Is it going to be normal, maybe with some easing off early, or how does that go for Joe?
Yeah, similar situation to Jason. He's got an idea in his head what it looks like, and he feels very healthy, feels very excited about where he is at right now. But he hasn't pitched in a game in a really long time. So we've got to be smart about that. We can't just, throw him in a Cactus League game and say you're going 4 innings. That would be not very smart or advantageous for our team. So we'll come up with a progression with Ruben. They'll work together on that and, figure out what's best for Joe to be ready, when the season kicks off.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
You got it, guys. 1 down.
1 down.